When will Benjamin Sesko be back for Manchester United? We gave an injury update on De Ligt in my video earlier today, and it looks like Man United are just taking precautions with De Ligt, and he is obviously out for the Bournemouth game. But could Benjamin Sesko be back for the Bournemouth game? He's had a little bit of illness. He's doing grass training. I mean, he's obviously not going to start, but could he be on the bench? Talking of strikers, Manchester United now ready to accept a loan deal. But what will Xerxi decide to do? Bruno to Saudi, more news coming in on Bruno moving to Saudi Arabia, which could raise United, some sources suggest 70 million, but I'm pretty sure he has a 56 million release clause. So we'll take that with a pinch of salt. Amorim speaks on Semenyo and Bournemouth players, and we know, according to Duncan Castles and other outlets, that Ruben Amorim and Semenyo went for dinner in the summer. Amorim is a big fan of Semenyo. He wants him at Man United. What we do know on Semenyo is that United might go for him, and he has a 65 million release clause, although I feel like he's Liverpool bound. Christos Mouzakitis, a young midfielder playing for Olympiacos, won an award for being one of the best young talents in football, is a player Man United are keeping an eye on, and maybe they go for him in January. I don't know. We'll have to talk about that. And of course, talking of youngsters, more news and updates on the talent that is J.J. Gabriel. So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your late night 10-minute roundup, where I round up all the latest Manchester United news into a 10-minute video for you guys. Feel free to hit the like button if you do enjoy today's video, and if you're new and you want all the latest Manchester United news in 10 minutes daily, feel free to subscribe. Let's talk about Benjamin Sesko. Sesko trained individually on grass again today and has been away from the first team due to illness. Set to have an assessment tomorrow, which will confirm, but looking less likely that he will make the squad for Bournemouth game. Now, this was said by Sully Talks. Sully has some pretty good connections in and around the Manchester United team when it comes to youth, when it comes to injury, when it comes to starting 11s. He knows information quite early. Now, Sesko, I believe, had food poisoning, and that's where he's been away due to illness. He's definitely on his way back from injury. He's training on grass. The plan was to have him back for Bournemouth, but United are sort of in this place where they're like, well, we don't want to take any risks. I think the hope is that we should be able to have Mbeumo and Ahmad. I think Mazraoui is going to have to go to AFCON because his game's 3 days before Ahmad and Mbeumo's first game. The hope is we're going to be able to have Ahmad and Mbeumo for one more game, and then we can let Sesko have a full rest. Don't rush him back. But Sesko's very close to coming back. He could be ready for Monday. If he is ready, he'd be on the bench. But I think United are more like, we don't really want to rush him back. We'd rather wait another week, which I think is a safe thing to do. I think when we've rushed players back in the past, they've got injured again. You know, one thing I've always said about Ruben Amorim, and one of the best things that Ruben Amorim has done at this club is I think his management of injuries. This is Mason Mount's best period staying fit. This is Luke Shaw's best period staying fit, because Amorim was very reluctant to rush them back. Whereas past managers like Ten Hag's, he's back, play. Luke Shaw, play with an injury, play. And I think they won't rush Sesko back. Anyway, let's dive into this next story, which is on Joshua Xerxi. And there's now reports coming out from Matteo Moretta, who's a good source of information, that United are ready to accept a loan deal. Roma and United will hold talks later this week over Xerxi. The two clubs are scheduled to meet in order to find an agreement regarding the player's formula. United are ready to accept this solution if Xerxi decides to give a definitive green light to the move. Now, I got this via United exclusive. So apparently in a couple of weeks, we're going to have talks with Roma, and United are ready to accept potentially a loan deal for Xerxi if that is what Xerxi wants. Now, if anything, I think Maino needs a loan more than Xerxi, because Xerxi said he's getting more minutes than Maino, and we don't know if Man United are going to accept Maino going on loan to Napoli. Now, Matteo Moretta is a good source of information when it comes to Italian clubs. I'm sure United are going to have talks with Roma later in the window. Now, what I know and what I've heard is nothing's going to be decided until the players are back from AFCON. Xerxi and Maino may be allowed to go at the end of January. I don't think anything's going to happen till the end of January, till after AFCON. But in a few weeks, which I guess would be, if we do it in 3 weeks, kind of in January, United are going to have talks with Xerxi. They're going to have talks with Roma. Roma wants Xerxi. I think if Man United get a loan with an obligation to buy, they'd let Xerxi go. I think if United got a good loan fee and Xerxi really pushed to move, maybe they'd let him go. But it's also been said United don't want Maino and Xerxi to go out on loan unless they can find replacements. If we get Semenyo for 65 million, and, you know, we can always say, well, Xerxi can go out on loan because Cunha can be the backup number 9 to Sesko. And, you know, Semenyo is a number 10 with Mason Mount. You know, we've got 2 players to cover those positions. I don't know if we're going to get Semenyo for 65 million. I think he will go to Liverpool or Arsenal. But I think Xerxi goes if we bring in another attacker. Apparently, we're, you know, willing and ready to accept a loan solution if Xerxi wants to go. But I don't think anything's going to be done till after AFCON. Same with Maino, who obviously wants his Napoli move. And look, if Maino isn't starting, going to pivot with Mbeumo and Ahmad away, then Maino's not going to start really at all this season, and we might as well let him go. Xerxi with Sesko coming back, with Cunha fit, again, limited minutes. So we'll have to see what Ruben Amorim does and how much he thinks he needs a squad depth. Talking of a player that could go in the summer, Bruno Fernandes. Man United are increasingly open to the idea of selling Bruno Fernandes to raise funds for a midfield rebuild. A deal of 70 million is being discussed without Etihad and Al Hilal. Now, I would take this with a pinch of salt. I know Saudi are interested in Bruno. I know that Bruno could definitely go in the summer, but Bruno's release clause is 56 million if we're to sell him abroad. I don't know if that applies to just the top 5 leagues and Saudi have to pay more. But if his release cost is 56 million, why would Saudi pay 70 million? That's my only thing. I think Bruno could go in the summer. I think if we get Champions League football, he might stay another year. We get 80 million, But I think he could definitely go in the summer. I think there's teams like Bayern Munich that may look at him as well and go, oh, there's 55, 56 million for Bruno. He's still a top player. Could we go for him? United are pretty much open to the idea, apparently, of selling Bruno. Now, Casemiro is set to go and save 17 million a year in wages. Agate were ready to sell and cash in 25, 30 million. Maino, apparently, they want to keep, but they're willing to loan out. I don't know if they want to cash in on Maino in the summer. I think it also depends on Amorim. Amorim could be sacked by this time next year. Maino has a future at the club. If Amorim's here in a year and he's still not playing Maino probably doesn't have a future at the club and will be sold. There is a feeling that United could bring in 3 midfielders this summer and do a huge rebuild. But I would take this news with a pinch of salt just because Bruno's release clause is 56 million. But we know that United want to sign 2 midfielders, but there's potential we sign 3 midfielders purely off the basis that 3 midfielders might leave. And also if we're in Europe next season, we're going to need that depth. I look at Man United and I think we need 2 major midfielders. So that's 2 of Wharton, Anderson and Baleba. One of them should be Anderson. And then we might need a 3rd midfielder like a João Gomez. I think we're going to need 3 midfield signings by the way things are looking. I think if Maino's going on loan, if Agate's going to be sold, if Bruno's not going to stay, if Casemiro's not going to go, you arguably need 4 midfielders. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Talking of attackers, talking of Semenyo, Amorim was asked about Bournemouth, and he said they have many good players, but they have a standout player who is Semenyo. He can play both sides with both feet. Amorim comes out speaking about Semenyo, praises him a lot. He's the Bournemouth player that comes to mind, and that is fair. Amorim is a huge fan of Semenyo. There is rumours that Amorim is asking the club to go for Semenyo in January. I don't know how true that is. Apparently, United don't plan to go for Semenyo in January because they don't feel they need another attacker. But I'm like, if you can't get the midfielders you want in January, even though we need a midfielder 10 times more than we need an attacker, if you can get Semenyo in January, maybe get him now, get your 3 midfielders in the summer. Ideally, I want us to get a midfielder in the summer and someone like Semenyo in January would be great. So, ideally, I want us to get a midfielder in January and someone like Semenyo in the summer would be great. I'd like to see United push for Semenyo, like challenge in the race for Semenyo, see what they can do, because Ruben Amorim clearly wants him. But to be fair to United and anything else, we need a midfielder more than anything. That's what the next signing's got to be. And we are looking at another midfielder, and that is Christos Mouzakitis. We've been linked to him by a few sources, and it was said that Manchester United are interested in Olympiacos wonder kid Christos Mouzakitis. There is no official offer yet, and many clubs have him on their transfer list. There was one report that said we made an offer, but that's kind of been debunked. We're looking at him. He's one of the highest rated young midfielders in football, very good at keeping the ball. I'm not going to act like I've watched Mouzakitis a lot, but he's a young midfielder. He's a teenager. He's playing Champions League football. He's keeping the ball well. He's a really good midfield talent. I do think United's mindset is 2 Prem-proven players and maybe a young player or a depth player. I think we will sign 3 midfielders, 2 Prem-proven. The 3rd could be a young player. The 3rd could be a depth player. I think that's what we plan to do in the summer. And last but not least, talking about the youth, I actually read something interesting by Stephen Railston. Now, if you've been following my channel, you'll know that we've spoken a lot about JJ Gabriel. And Stephen Railston, that is a very good journalist with very good connections to the academy, said that some followers suggest that JJ Gabriel could be the best talent Man United's academy has ever seen. Now, that's a pretty big thing to say when you've seen Beckham, you've seen Scholes, but maybe more of the modern academy. You know, I will say things like JJ Gabriel is the best academy talent I've seen because I'm born in 2000. I didn't see Scholes in the academy. I didn't see Beckham in the academy. I've seen Rashford in the academy. I've seen Maino in the academy. And I do think for his age, maybe the best 15-year-old I've seen in our academy. But United obviously want to temper expectations on Gabriel to help him focus on his development. But sources say they're not concerned about keeping him grounded. They've been praising him on his work rate and more. And he's very highly rated. Anyway, people, that was your 10-minute roundup. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I will be back later. I'm actually filming this half-time in the Arsenal-Wolves game, and Wolves have kept Arsenal to 0-0. But I don't know what the score's going to be like at full-time. But, you know, I thought Wolves were the worst team we've ever played. and they look a lot better versus Arsenal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching. Bye.